I used to hate that in my end of year evals at Elevation when it would get said, Wade is consistent as a good thing. And I was always like, that sounds so boring, being consistent. But the older I've gotten, I'm like, yeah, that's something that I want to keep working on and keep growing in. And I'm learning to see it now as something that actually is a bedrock to our faith.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like one of the highest compliments. I do. I know I didn't always see it like that. I'm sure it sounds very vanilla and boring, especially to, maybe my 25-year-old self. But now I just see it as like, that is one of the highest compliments I could get. And I would definitely say that about you as well. Just because your heart is set on something different,
Mm-hmm.
you know why you're here, and you've been through some really unimaginable circumstances in your family alone, and you've chosen to keep your eyes, set forward. And
I think it'd be just somebody listening to this who's walking through just a season where you feel like you're doing all the right things and no one notices. Just feel led to remind you that God sees it, and that consistent sowing does lead to a to a harvest of righteousness. One of the verses our family centering our year around is, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you'll reap a harvest. And so, yeah, hopefully this episode will help encourage people not to become weary, both in the unseen acts of obedience, but also like the contribution to church, which I think both of us keep coming back to being so important.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And I would say too, like, don't equate success with visibility.
Yes.
Like you may be hidden for a purpose, and maybe you're, quote unquote, hidden for a season. Or maybe you actually need to take some time and hide yourself away instead of spending so much time staying public. But being visible does not mean you're automatically being effective. And
yes, say that again.
So I know it's such an easy trap, and I struggle with it, and I'd be hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't struggle with, like, well, obviously I feel more successful, or I would be more successful if I had more fill in the blank. But if I was more public, if I had more of a public platform on social, in a church setting, or whatever. And it's like that, it is just such a trap. Some of the most, I think, important people that I admire the most, no one would know their name, but they've been critical in my life because they've spoken things that have completely shaped how I've thought. They've shaped the direction of our family's life. They've encouraged us at just the right moments. And these are people who aren't, quote unquote, visible.
Yeah.
But they would be very successful in my book.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying right now, I think really gets to the heart of the message of this podcast, is that whatever sphere of life you find yourself in, whether it's visible or invisible, like, success in the kingdom of God is faithfulness